Coming at you from Bellingham, Washington. This is Two Nuts in the Sack. I'm Julie.
I'm Gavin.
And today we continue our journey into the paranormal. Chapter 3 Cryptids. We're going to talk about some of the strange creatures that may or may not inhabit this earth. The creatures that keep us in our house at night. The stuff of legends some believe in their existence, while others believe that they are flights of fancy that are just stories used to scare us and keep us from wandering too far from that beaten path. There are too many stories in the ether to disregard their existence. But without definitive scientific proof, these creatures make a perfect addition to our exploration of the paranormal.
How about we start off with another story?
That sounds good to me.
I got a good one. Gird your loins for the tale of an Alaskan prospector from 1900, Harry D. Culp. Outside of Wrangell, Alaska, Harry and three fellow prospectors, known only as Charlie, John, and Fred, were in town getting supplies before heading back to their camp. Charlie received word from a native, Tlingit, Tlingit. I'm going to pronounce it as Tlingit.
That works.
Yep. But Charlie received word from the native Tlingit that there was a large vein of gold near Thomas Bay. Now, Thomas Bay had been known for large veins of quartz and gold, but also for tragedy. In 1750, a large landslide buried the Tlingit village below, killing nearly 500 people.
Oh my.
Instantly. The bay became known as Ginana, or Bay of Death in the Tlingit language. I'm sorry for any Tlingit people out there, and maybe I'm pronouncing your tribal name wrong, but I'm sorry. So, taking with him 3 months' worth of supplies, Charlie parted ways with his friends, Harry, John, and Fred, and promised to return after scouting the area and finding sites to prospect. He departed in May of 1900. His journey would be much shorter than the 3 months he had intended. As instructed by the Tlingit native, he arrived in Thomas Bay and headed up the Patterson River in search of a crescent moon-shaped lake. He found instead an S-shaped lake, consequently called S Lake. Real creative. He made camp and searched around. He found a large piece of quartz flecked with gold. He knew he was on the right track, but he also noticed the area was strangely devoid of life. There were no squirrels, no birds, no life of any kind, nothing to hunt.
Creepy. So creepy.
So he climbed a nearby ridge for a better vantage point to get his bearings. From the top of the ridge, he was able to see familiar landmarks: Frederick Sound, the Cape of Straight Light, Point Vanderput, and Sequoia Island. All these make sense if you know Alaska. From the other side of the ridge, he finally spotted a crescent-shaped lake. It was a glacial lake stemming from the Patterson Glacier and fed the Patterson River. It was from this vantage point that Charlie saw something that scared him so bad that he was compelled to leave the entire state, never to return.
Wow.
In June 1900, Charlie met back up with Harry, John, and Fred. He had no supplies, only the clothes on his back and the large piece of quartz flecked with gold. Visibly shaken, Charlie's compatriots let him eat and have a rest. When he regained his senses, they asked him what had happened. He said he would only tell them if they would agree to split whatever the quartet had made so far and pay for his passage out of Alaska for good.
What'd he say?
Well, they agreed, and he began his tale. Just as he made sight of the moon-shaped lake, he spotted a swarm of devil creatures scaling the
What?
ridge. Hardly believing what he was seeing, he ran for his camp. He did have a rifle, but it had been damaged as he was ascending the ridge. He threw it at the swarm to no avail.
That's what I would have done.
Running as fast as he could, barely managed to make it back to his camp, jumped into his canoe, and shoved off. He got scratch marks, large scratches along his back from the creatures. The creatures were hairy looking, like neither man nor ape, with razor sharp claws, covered with dark coarse hair, save for 2 oozing sores at either side of their face. They stood only 4 feet tall and smelled awful. Bleeding and worn out as adrenaline wore off, Charlie passed out in his canoe.
Wake the fuck up!
Well, he did wake up downstream, away from danger, then made his way back
Okay.
to Culp and the others, mostly to warn them not to seek out the moon-shaped lake. No amount of gold would be worth their lives.
No way.
This is just one example of an encounter with an impossible creature or cryptid.
Cryptids, entities that may be considered by cryptozoologists, include Bigfoot, Yeti, the Chupacabra, the Jersey Devil, and the Loch Ness Monster. Bigfoot. North American folklore, Bigfoot are said to be hairy and upright, walking ape-like creatures that dwell in the wilderness and leave footprints several times larger than the largest human footprint.
Right. Bigfoot is kind of like the big daddy of the cryptozoological world. Though an ancient beast, talked about in many Native American legends, was brought to modern attention with the Patterson Gimlin footage, a 1 minute long motion picture of an unidentified subject claimed to be the Bigfoot, shot on October 20th, 1967, alongside Bluff Creek in Northern California. Many attempts have been made to authenticate as well as debunk this footage, but squatchers still hold this. Squatchers are the people who hunt Sasquatch.
Ah, makes sense.
Yeah. They still hold this as the holy grail of proof. Even Roger Patterson maintained right up until his death in 1973 that the footage was, in fact, real. But what else you got?
Yetis. Abominable snowman is a folklore ape like creature taller than an average human that is said to inhabit the Himalayan mountains.
Right. And
Excuse
in
me.
though many legends portray the Yeti as a scary, angry, evil beast, in Buddhist mythology, the Yeti were shy and peaceful creatures living in snow caves on the glaciers which feed the Ganges River of India. Their name comes from the Tibetan Yeta, which means rock thing.
Hmm,
Interesting.
very interesting.
And contrary to popular belief, the Yeti are not white.
Really?
Right. In fact, they're brown, reddish brown, or black, like their possible American cousins,
Oh, wow.
Bigfoot. And like Bigfoot, many expeditions have gone in search of the Yeti, and only footprints and hair samples have ever been found. However, unlike the Bigfoot, bones bones of purported Yeti have been found and even cataloged by the Natural Museum of History at the Smithsonian.
Huh.
Though one of these bones was proven to be human, others are still in question, labeled as possible evidence of an extinct species, Gigantopithecus.
All right.
Now that's well and good, but do you got anything a little bit creepier for me? What does he got?
Chupacabra. Literally goat sucker. Gross. A heavy creature the size of a small bear with a row of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail.
Ooh.
Creepy.
These little critters, first sighted in Puerto Rico, given to the habit of attacking and drinking the blood of livestock, including goats, reported as far north as Maine, as far south as Chile, even spotted outside the Americas in countries like Russia and the Philippines. Unfortunately, the chupacabra has mostly been debunked as cases of animals with mange, a type of skin disease caused by parasitic mites. The afflicted animal bites, scratches, and rubs its hair off in an effort to get rid of the mites, but results in a beast that is nearly unrecognizable to anyone without a degree in regular zoology, but feeds the imagination of cryptozoologists the world around. But it only takes one, just one, to change the world.
Hmm.
So how about we do a little bit more domestic? What do we have in America here?
The Jersey Devil.
Ooh, that's a good one.
A legendary creature is said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of South Jersey. Described as a flying biped with with hooves, kangaroo like, a goat or horse like head, leather bat like wings, horns, small arms with clawed hands, legs with cloven hoofs, and a forked tail.
See if you,
Crazy.
yeah, but unfortunately for me, it just always makes me think of the New Jersey hockey team, the Jersey Devils. But sightings of this cryptid reach back as far as the 1800s. And in 1909, newspapers published claims of hundreds of sightings, so much so that the Philadelphia Zoo posted a $10,000 reward if the creature could be captured, dead or alive. This continued to the 1960s when merchants around Camden, New Jersey offered $10,000 for the capture, even offering to build a private zoo to house the creature. So, as I looked into this, I found the legend, and the legend goes that the devil is the 13th child of Jane Leeds, known as Mother Leeds. With the impending birth of her 13th child, the mother of 12 cursed her unborn, and on a dark and stormy night in 1735, she gave birth to the abomination we now know as the Jersey Devil.
Wow.
Growling and screaming, it flew up the chimney and out into the pine barrens, knowing it would never know its own mother's love.
Aw, it's sad.
It really is kind of sad.
Poor little devil.
Well, let's jump the pond now.
All right, Loch Ness Monster. Large in size with a long neck and one or more humps protruding from the water.
Brought to the world's attention in 1933. A few disputed photographs and sonar readings are the only modern evidence of this cryptid. The phenomenon without biological basis. Some believe it is a dinosaur, more directly a plesiosaur, that was a holdover from the Jurassic period that had somehow escaped extinction. As far-fetched as it seems, it fits the paranormal model. So many sightings, so little evidence. Ooh, I think this is one of my favorites of the lot.
All right, last, the Mothman. Seen in Point Pleasant area, man-sized bird creature. Bok bok. Just kidding. That looks like a moth. I couldn't resist, Gavin. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You were like, Mothman, flap, flap. But bok bok works. Okay. So basically, this one has its debut in 1966. November 12th, 1966. 5 men digging a grave near Caldenon, West Virginia, claim to have seen a man-like figure flying low over their heads. November 15th, 2 young couples in Point Pleasant independently report to the police of a large white creature whose eyes glowed red when seen by their car headlights. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings following their car at speeds in excess of 80 miles an hour. In the ensuing days, similar sightings were reported. A wildlife biologist, Dr. Robert L. Smith, told reporters that the sightings were concurrent with that of the sandhill crane. Wah wah. Unrecognized because it was not following its normal migration pattern. So a rogue crane. But after the December 15th, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the deaths of 46 people, the legend was cemented. The Mothman has purportedly been seen preceding tragic events. Though largely debunked, the sightings near and around Point Pleasant are hair-raising, to say the least. Is the Mothman a harbinger of tragedy, or merely a figment of the imaginations of those who survived the tragedy?
Nobody knows.
But there's too many stories, too many accounts of people who've seen these cryptids. What we've talked about tonight is just a scratch at the surface of sea monsters, strange beings, creatures that defy our reality. Is this just mass hysteria, or is there really something to it? With this and all phenomena we'll cover. I've said it once, I'll say it again. It just takes one. Well, while the existence of one does not make all others true, it opens the door to the possibility. And if that ain't a kick in the sack, I don't know what is. So please, dear patrons, if you're having any interest in what we're saying, feel free to comment. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we even have a Patreon, but we don't think that we're quite good enough for you to give us money yet. So Facebook is free, YouTube is free. Let us know what you think.
All right, this is Two Nuts in the Sack signing off.